Hey guys, what's going on? I wanted to let you guys know that this is episode 4 of the home buying process, and if you have not seen the first 3, first of all, I highly suggest you see them. And if you have seen them, I'm letting you know now that this is one of the most important ones because we're going to talk about the timelines in a contract and how you as the home buyer can use these timelines to benefit you, get yourself a better price, better terms, even when you are already under contract with a home seller. So you want to listen in? Let's get started. Okay guys, so I want to share with you all first all the different timelines that are in a contract that are very important for us to follow as home buyers. Okay, so there are 7 main timelines to keep track of when you are under contract with a home seller. For starters is the effective date. Number 2 would be the escrow deposit date. Number 3 would be the inspection period. Number 4 is the appraisal period. Number 5 is the financing contingency period. Number 6 is the HOA application period. And finally, last but not least, is the closing date of the contract. So I know it sounds like a lot. Let's go one by one, breaking it down. What does each one mean? What is it there for? And the average amount of days you have to do this part of the contract. So for starters, the effective date. What is the effective date? That is when a home buyer and home seller have signed an initial 100% of the contract and they have distributed the contract to all parties involved. That is the effective date of the contract. So from that day on, all the days start counting from that effective date. Now keep in mind, all these dates are counted as of calendar days, not business days, calendar days. So weekends do count as well. The second timeline to keep in mind is the escrow deposit. In average, here in Miami, Florida, in our market, we're seeing most of the homes that are being purchased or sold have a 3-day period for a home buyer to put the escrow deposit in the title company's escrow account. Okay, that is for you to pretty much reserve the property and give validity to the contract because you already have money in between. Before we proceed to the third timeline, I want to also let you know there might be some scenarios where you have a second escrow deposit period, which is when a home buyer puts an additional amount into the escrow account of the title company to give the seller more tranquility, or because maybe it was just part of the negotiations for the contract of the purchase for your home. So there is such a thing as a second escrow deposit period as well. It may apply in some cases, it may not apply in other cases, but I just want to give you the heads up that does exist and it is used sometimes as well. Moving on to the third timeline to keep in mind, which is the inspection period. The average inspection period for us is around 10 to 15 days. If you are in a very competitive market, that might be less for you, but in average, you have 10 to 15 days. Next comes the appraisal period. Appraisal period in average for us is going to be around 15 days, meaning you have 15 days to order an appraisal, make sure the guy goes or the guy or woman goes to the property, does their analysis, and gives you the report back to you. Following that, we have the financing contingency. The financing contingency is there for you to apply for a loan and do all the due diligence that your bank is required to do to give you a loan approval. Usually that is around 30 calendar days for you to get that loan approval accepted, and then that way you can move forward in closing on the purchase of your home. If for whatever reason your loan does not get approved and you are within those 30 days of the financing period, then you may, as a buyer, back out of the contract without having any financial penalties. Next comes the HOA application period. Now, the HOA application period is usually between the first 5 days after the contract is executed. In other words, the buyer has 5 days after all parties have signed the contract to go to the association, in the case your home is within an association, to go to the association and apply with them. So again, that's usually around 5 days. I want to reiterate, these days are what's common in our market. In some of the markets that are more competitive than ours, you might see these days come down a little bit and you have a smaller timeline. And some other markets, or maybe even in the higher end markets, you might be seeing these timelines a little bit more extended because the due diligence periods may be a little bit longer. But I just wanted to share with you all these time periods so you guys are aware of the time periods that are important to keep in mind. Finally, and most importantly, is the closing date. The closing date is pretty much what it says. The closing date is the day you are estimated to close. Most likely, you can close the sale or purchase of a property between 30 to 45 days. Once again, the market is very competitive now and a lot of lenders may be overwhelmed. So you might be seeing transactions and purchases or sales closing on the higher end range of those days in the 40 to 45. 30 to 45 days is usually what you're going to see to close the purchase of your home in the closing timeline period. If you guys have any other questions regarding the timelines, about contingency periods, how you can better position yourself or protect yourself during these periods, feel free to comment below. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. And I look forward to seeing all of you on the next episode. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This is episode 4. My name is Bryan Roach, your real estate agent here in Miami, Florida, and I'll see you next time. Take care.